Ken Landau. Thanks for watching. Let's talk about Shingrix. Shingrix is the newly available vaccine to prevent the shingles, also called herpes zoster. Now, it was approved by the Food and Drug Administration in October of 2017 and appears much better, considerably better, than the Zostavax, which was the original vaccine. The original vaccine, the Zostavax, contains a live virus and only works for about 3 or 4 years. This one has no live virus, so it's not going to play havoc with you. And it contains an adjuvant. An adjuvant is a chemical that boosts the body's immune reaction, immune response. So this one is going to provide better protection, and it's going to last a lot longer. Well, the Food and Drug Administration approved it, and now we have the Centers for Disease Control. They have a group called the ACIP, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. They've looked at it, and they say, they're the ones that establish national policy, national vaccine policy. They say that yes, everybody over age 50 is a good candidate for this vaccine. Even if you've had the old vaccine, you ought to get this new one, because remember, the old one is only going to last for about 3 or 4 years and doesn't provide all that great protection anyway. And they made a third comment. What they said is this is the preferred vaccine. Preferred vaccine in order to prevent some shenanigans with the insurance company over pricing, so that we don't have somebody trying to undercut the other, when this is the one that really works. Now, what is shingles? Shingles is the delayed reappearance or recurrence of the chickenpox virus. You get the chickenpox virus when you're a kid. It hides inside the nerve, doesn't cause any kind of symptom. You don't know it's there. And then you get to be age 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, and now it comes back. It comes back as the shingles. So the shingles is the chickenpox virus, but instead of being all over the body, it tends to be in a swath from the center of your back to the center of your chest, or maybe it's on your arm, or maybe it's on your leg, but on one side only, and in a limited area. And that's what the shingles is, the reappearance of the chickenpox virus from when you were young. Now, starting in 1995, all children have been vaccinated with a chickenpox virus, so they don't get the chickenpox anymore. Does that mean they're not going to get the shingles? No, it doesn't, because remember, the virus in the vaccine is live. So that means that they were infected with the chickenpox virus. So that means they're going to get the vaccine strain as their shingles when they get to be 60 or 70 or 80, and as their immune systems wane. Now, shingles tends to occur for no apparent reason. All of a sudden, I don't feel well, there's something going on, not quite sure what it is. Then you get some itching and some burning in an area of the skin, a swath of skin, maybe about 2 to 3 inches in width, going from the center back, center chest. And then all of a sudden you get some pain. Pain can be quite severe, so you run to the dentist because there's nothing wrong with your skin. You have no idea that you have the shingles coming, but now you have the pain, and you think you have a dental abscess. Or maybe if it's in your chest, you think you're having a heart attack. Or maybe if it's in your belly, you think you're having a gallbladder attack or appendicitis. So you run to the doctor, and the doctor says, nothing wrong with you. You go home, and a day later, 2 or 3 days later, an area on the skin turns red, and then you get some blisters in it. And then on top of the blisters, you can maybe get a little infection in some of those little blisters, and then they burst, and then you get a scab, and then they heal. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks for the entire process to go through its changes. Sometimes it could leave a little bit of a scar. Sometimes you have significant pain during the time when you have the shingles, and until it clears up, and even for a couple months afterward. Feels like you're being stabbed with a poker or something. But sometimes, in about 10 to 20% of the people who have the shingles, the pain lasts for more than 90 days, more than 3 months after the shingles goes away. Because remember, once the 2 to 3 to 4 weeks goes away, you don't have any virus on you anymore. But now you have the pain. And you say, why do I have the pain? The pain is caused by damage to the nerve that was caused by the virus growing in the nerve. So the pain is not caused by the virus that's present anymore. It's caused by the virus that used to be there, that used to grow, that used to cause the skin rash. So now we have the post-herpetic neuralgia, and the question is what to do with that when you have the feeling that you're being poked in the side by a dagger or somebody's hitting you with a red-hot probe. And the question is what to do. And now especially when we know that the virus isn't there, so antivirals won't work, the vaccine won't work anymore because you don't have the shingles. You have the post-herpetic neuralgia. Pain medicine's available. They don't work very well. So now we have Shingrix. Shingrix prevents all of that. And it's going to be used by tens of millions of people. But let's go back for a moment. Let's talk about the Zostavax, the first vaccine that was available. Well, first of all, not many people got it. Only about 25% of the people who were candidates actually had the immunization with the Zostavax. They said that the Zostavax works about 50% to prevent the shingles, about 70% to prevent the post-herpetic neuralgia, but those numbers are highly inflated and they don't mean what you think they mean. So, for instance, they did a study. 19,000 people were vaccinated, 19,000 people were not vaccinated. The difference between the two groups, well, the difference between the two groups was only about 1.5% as far as the shingles was concerned. So in the group that got vaccinated, only 315 of those 19,000 broke out with the shingles. Of the group that wasn't vaccinated, about 600 people broke out with the shingles. So somehow they're calling that 50% improvement, when the real number is about 2%. And if we look at the prevention of the post-herpetic neuralgia, they say it's 67%. Well, if we look at those 19,000 people, less than 0.2% of the vaccinated group developed the post-herpetic neuralgia, compared to only about 0.4%, 0.4% of the people who didn't get the vaccine. So the real difference was less than 0.3%. And somehow they're magnifying that 0.3% absolute difference into a, oh my gosh, this is a 67% improvement. Nonsense. So of the 19,000 people in each group that were vaccinated, 18,900 of them did not have post-herpetic neuralgia, whether you're talking about the vaccinated group or the non-vaccinated group. So let's switch over to Shingrix, the new vaccine that really seems to work. You have to get 2 injections. They're given intramuscular. They're given about 2 to 6 months apart. And remember, no live virus, so you can't become infected. And the good news is that it contains this adjuvant substance, the adjuvant substance that boosts the body's immunity. The immune stimulator has been around for over 90 years, but now they're starting to be used in vaccines. Actually, they're working on it in a malaria vaccine and an RSV vaccine. RSV is a common condition that occurs typically in kids. Well, the Shingrix, remember, is not to prevent the chickenpox. It's only for adults, and it's only to prevent the shingles. It comes as a lyophilized vaccine, comes in 2 vials, you mix the 2 together, and you get the shot, and the effectiveness is somewhere between 96 and 98%, and that's in people over age 50. And if we look at people over age 70 or over age 80, those are the numbers. This stuff is really good as far as durability and length of protection. It's at least 4 years. Remember, it's a new vaccine, so we don't have real long-term data, but it seems to work a heck of a lot longer, and after 4 years, we still have over 90% protection, so it really is good. And as a matter of fact, even in people who have immune systems that are shot, people who are getting the autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplants because they've had leukemia or lymphoma or myeloma, well, these people, they still get significant protection. Well, anytime you have a vaccine, you could have some side effects, and there are side effects with this vaccine. So it will be painful in the area where you get the vaccine, where you get the shot, about 80% of the time, and in 5 to 10% of the time, so in other words, 1 in 10 to 1 in 20 people, Well, they're going to be maybe a little incapacitated for 1 or 2 or 3 days. There's going to be redness in the area about 40% of the time, and there's going to be swelling in about 80% of the time. So a significant local reaction for 1, 2, or 3 days, and even systemic reaction. So we're going to have muscle aches in about half of the people, and they're going to be so severe that it's going to limit your activities for a day or two, and maybe between 1 in 10 and 1 in 20 people. There's going to be fatigue in about half of the people. We're going to have headache in about 40% of the people, shivering and fever in 20% of the people. And then we're going to have significant gastrointestinal disturbances. And it gets worse when you get the second vaccine. But more importantly, there have been, disturbingly, 3 cases reported in the first 50 days after vaccine of something called optic ischemic neuropathy. So something happened to the eye in a very, very small percentage of the people. It was 3 people versus 0 people. 3 people in the vaccine group, 0 people in the placebo group that had this. We don't know what the long-term meaning of that is. But we do know that the vaccine, for the purpose, seems to work very well. Now the adjuvant, this new stuff, well, it combines a little bit of the phospholipid out of a salmonella bacteria and something called the soap bark tree extract. That's a special kind of a substance that really stimulates your immune system. And the final dose contains a little bit of this glycoprotein E, and it contains a little bit of each of the 2 adjuvants. They throw in a little bit of salt, throw in a little bit of sugar, and they give it to you. And overall, if we look at the effectiveness of the vaccine in a group of 1,000 patient years, so to say 1,000 people followed for a year, only 1/3 of 1 person will develop the shingles. So in other words, we would have to go to 10,000 people to find a significant number of individuals who were infected, about 3 people in 10,000. On the other hand, if we look at the placebo, we would find about 90 people in the 10,000 who were infected. So that sounds like a pretty good improvement, at least as far as the group. None of the people who were vaccinated got the post-herpetic neuralgia, and 18% of the non-vaccinated group got the post-herpetic neuralgia. So there's an amazing reduction in the number of people. But if you want to look at the numbers a different way, you would say in the vaccinated group, out of 1,000 people, 999 did not get the shingles. But if you look at the non-vaccinated group, another 1,000 people, you're going to find 990 did not get the shingles. So it all depends on how you look at improvement, whether you want to take the little risk or whether you want to consider that you're just not really all that likely to get the shingles. How likely are you to get the shingles, as a matter of fact? If we look at people who are in their 40s, look at 1,000 people, 3 every year are going to get the shingles. If we look at people who are in their 70s, about 10 out of every 1,000 people are going to get the shingles. So it all depends what your particular viewpoint is and how much risk you're willing to take to get a vaccine. Now, this is big business peak. The Zostavax sold about $500 million a year. It's estimated that by the year 2020 or so, that the new vaccine, the Shingrix, is going to do business of in excess of $1 billion. Now, there's a lot of shenanigans with the insurance. So the vaccine for the flu and the vaccine for pneumonia is considered by the Medicare to be covered by Part B. They're considered preventive vaccines. On the other hand, for whatever reason, they consider the vaccine against the shingles to be a drug, and they don't cover drugs. So in order to get any coverage, if you're a senior citizen, you have to have either Medicare Part D or a Medicare supplement. And then you will get some kind of reimbursement. But they're going to consider it a Tier 3 or Tier 4 drug. So you're probably going to end up out of pocket about $100. On the other hand, On the other hand, if we look at commercial insurance, well, commercial insurance by the Affordable Care Act, well, they consider this a preventive substance, a preventive care, and that's mandated coverage without any copay. So a suggestion, if you happen to be getting a little bit older, at least at the present time, it might be a good idea to get the vaccine prior to the time you get on Medicare, while you still have some other kind of coverage, because when you get on Medicare, unless you have a supplement, you're not going to get coverage for this. How much does the vaccine cost? The old vaccine, the Zostavax, costs a little over $200. The new vaccine, the Shingrix, costs, for the 2 shots, around $280. Now, shingles unquestionably can be a painful condition. Usually it's self-limited. Usually it's more of a nuisance than a threat. But in senior citizens, it can be a significant problem, and it can cause pain, and the pain can last for months to years, and it can be quite uncomfortable. So if you're inclined to get vaccinated, and it's certainly recommended that you are vaccinated, they suggest over age 50. I would say stick with over age 60, because between age 50 and 60, there are not that many cases. And because we know that the new vaccine will wane over time, we just don't know over how much time, I would stick with the over age 60 myself. Now, for me personally, I haven't gotten vaccinated with either of these and don't plan to. But you make the decision. The current guidelines say over age 50, you should get vaccinated. Know the statistics, know the risks. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Ken Landau.